Ready?
Yep.
Sun. Hanaga diwahiga jokwa. That's what we see is Nyari. Okay, to get started back. First off, we had a very good lunch, and now we'll go for the good food. Spaghetti, very good. Squash. What was that? What was that?
Patzão. I don't know in English.
Was it zucchini? Anyways, it was very good. Now we'll go. Okay, just to get started back, if there's anything anybody wants to address, if you thought of anything over the lunchtime, if not, well, then we'll get started. Anybody? You know the order.
Jokwa, Goa, Editute, Sista, Soko, Gano, Sakayanga, Disco, Panchita. Just to pick up with what we were doing before lunch, and just to reiterate, we had this exchange with Joe Hiscott from the Dead Bird Community Quebec. So most likely later we are going to be posting on Facebook the website that they have, because they just put a new section into their website that is dealing with what is known as ecological burials. So there's very pertinent information, at least to know like the basic things that are legal within the framework of so-called Quebec. And something that people have the tendency to believe sometimes is that they need to put formaldehyde in the bodies of the persons that passed away, but that is not true. So it's because of normally the funeral homes were, as the student study was pointing out earlier, it's like in their ways of doing or dealing with things, they are gonna push you to like wait for 3 or 4 days for X papers or any kind of stuff that are needed to be supposed to be done But in the legal framework, you could bury your person on the same day, and there's no need for any chemicals whatsoever. So it's something that maybe sometimes people don't know. So this website is very useful. So we're going to be posting it later, so everybody has access to that. Hello everyone, my name is Marie-Claude. I'm the daughter of Francine, who is right here, and the great daughter of Yvette. I just wanted to share a little bit of my new understanding since I came into contact with the Longhouse and traditional teachings, and specifically regarding the passing of our beloved, the people that are very close to our heart. And just to share that in my personal case, my mom being with me here, I started this process with her. We had this conversation together, and I simply said to her that I wanted to be the one to take care of her if ever she needed that, and that we could put that in place. And to me, hearing those teachings again today just made me realize how much I was enriched. It's every day there's something that I realize that the Longhouse and the traditional teaching of the original people enrich me in so many ways. This is one. The first one was to actually realize the value of my own mother in my life, uh, that she gave me life. Without her, I wouldn't be in this world. And it is now my priority in my life to take care of her and learn to take care of her. And I want to be there when she needs me. And she knows that. And I'm repeating it publicly to her so she knows that. So she doesn't have to worry about that. Well, if ever she wants me, I will be there for sure with her. And just a great privilege to open your eyes to the value of your own mother in your life just is just incredibly enriching. Talking about deprogramming, well, this is the first one that everybody should consider. Without your mother, you wouldn't be in this world, no matter what conflict you might think you have with her. It's an absolute priority to align that within yourself and to become at peace with the love that your mother had to bring you into this world. And it's a great honor to be able to share this because I know for a fact that I wouldn't be at this stage if it weren't for these wonderful teachings. So it's gonna go out to everyone. So.
Okay, if there's no one else, then we're going to get started into the final wampums. Okay, funeral addresses. 104, wampum 104. At the funeral of the chief of the Confederacy, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. You were once a chief of the Five Nations Confederacy, and the United People trusted you. Now we release you, for it is true that it is no longer possible for us to walk about together on our Mother Earth. Now, therefore, we lay your body here. Here we lay your body away. Now then we say to you, persevere onward to the place where the Creator dwells in peace. Let nothing that transpired while you lived hinder you. In hunting, you once delighted. In the game of lacrosse, you once took delight, and in the feast and pleasant occasions, your mind was amused. But now, do not allow thoughts of these things to give you trouble. Let not your relatives hinder you, and also let not your friends and associates trouble your mind. Regard none of these things, but enjoy and move forward in your great journey. Now then, in turn, you here present who are related to the man. Again, remember we're talking about a chieftainship title. And you, who were his friends and associates, behold the path that is yours also. Soon we ourselves will be left in this place. For this reason, hold yourself in restraint as you go from place to place. In your actions and in your conversation, do no idle things. Speak no idle talk nor gossip. Be careful of this and speak not and do not give way to evil behavior. 1 year is the time that you must abstain from unseemly levity, but if you cannot do so for ceremony, then 10 days is the time to, to regard these things for respect. Again, don't forget, this is regarding specifically a chieftainship title. Now, this is not the entire oration. This is just the guideline as to remind you of to the sacred title, the honor and the respect of that title, that it does not hold the same uh, meaning if you lose a father, if you lose an uncle, a grandfather, a brother, a son. Of course, anybody that you lose is of importance, but when we're considering of the chieftainship titles, these are of the utmost importance, not only to the collective of people, but to the land itself. And so we are talking about, remember that when you identify the name or the title itself, when you're referring to chief, that is a gets lost in the English language because today, because of English, we believe we are hearing the terminology chief. But in our language, it is not chief. When you're referring to a male representative of the head of the clan, you are talking about quite simply the same reference to a female or male, the clan mother or the male. You're referring to them quite simply as they are good. And when you're talking about these are the best of the people, they are good, you are identifying, again, this is the best of us. This is the most evolved of us. This was the person who was the calmest, the most level headed. Whenever we had issues in this world, it was them that we turned to that would either assist us or actually resolve our issues. It was them that we turned to for ceremony, for the songs, for all the things within the ceremonial cycles of the Longhouse that we that whenever we need guidance, it is them that give us this guidance. It is them that when we have emotional or psychological issues, when we have traumas that we have to deal with, it is them that we go to. It is them that resolve our issues. So we're talking about the most important part of our society. Not just that it is the male, but this also applies for female. Later on, you will hear the recital for a female chief. It is different than for a male chief. But to remember that these are the best of us. These are the ones that are the bravest, the most fearless, the ones that are steadfast in adhering to law, the ones that are steadfast in maintaining complete fairness within the people, always thinking of everyone else, always thinking of the faces yet beneath the earth. So again, we are talking of the best of us. So it is not quite simply that is not all the oration you would give. It would depend also on the individual who you are addressing. Fact is that some people in this world do more than others. Even within the chieftainship titles, there are some chiefs who will do a bare minimum. Some chiefs who do a very good job by working through the people. Instead of them speaking all the time on behalf of the people, some chiefs will allow the people to speak through them. And therefore, you may not see, like, well, maybe there wasn't much action or much work that individual done. Maybe when it came time for something, they asked somebody within their clan to stand up and speak. You may get the perception that, well, this person didn't do much. But each person approaches that title and that position differently. And so each one will um, express their chieftainship title in accordance with what their clan is, what is emanating from them. So different ones, it may appear, well, this one didn't do much. This one did. Maybe this one never lighted the council fire. Maybe he never lighted the council fire to put that responsibility on the people where it's supposed to be. And maybe by him refusing to light that council fire, maybe this is what caused you one day to rise to your responsibility and to say, well, I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to light that council fire. And so we don't understand sometimes how these titles work in relation to the people and what those titles actually are for the people. So each one again is looked at and addressed in their for their own merits. Okay, so now uh, 105. At the funeral of a war chief, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. Once you were a war chief of the Five Nations Confederacy, and the United People trusted you as their guard from the enemy. The remainder is the same as the address at the funeral of a chief. 106. At the funeral of a warrior, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. Once you were a devoted provider and protector of your family. You were ready to take part in the protection of the Five Nations Confederacy. The United People trusted. The remainder is the same as the address at the funeral of a chief. At the funeral of a young man, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. In the beginning of your career, you are taken away. The flower of your life has withered. The remainder is the same as the address at the funeral of a chief. When an infant dies within 3 days of being born, mourning shall continue only for 5 days. Then shall you gather the little girls and boys at the house of mourning, and at the funeral feast a speaker shall address the children and bid them be happy once more. Though by death gloom has been cast over them, then shall the children be again in the brightness of our eldest brother, the sun. Okay, now on this one, there is something that is needed to be said. We know that there's a 10-day mourning period. We know that there is specific address to be done at the deathbed of the person while they're still alive. There is an address when they are dead, and then there is address when their bodies are actually put away, meaning when the body is buried. As you know, like with my father, the moment that we became aware that he was dead, then immediately right there, there is an address made to him, to his spirit, to his body. And then at the end of the day, when it was time for him to be buried, there was an address once again at the gravesite where we were burying him. And then at the 10-day feast, there is another address where you are finally sending him on his way. So, in the way that it's written, it's not very clear or it's not really understood until, again, like you're in school, you're getting theory. You know, theory, you might believe you understand, but the fact is, theory is just theory. Once you have actual application, then that theory you might find that it's adjustable, that you have to adjust it this way or that way. So, uh, um, as it is basically the same for all adults, female or male, it is not that way for a child. When a child, again, that leaves us within 3 days of it being born, then it is special feast that is called just for the children. Now, of course, this feast is for the parents also and the rest of the loved ones, but this is the only feast where a person dies. Normally, it is just for the family, the loved ones. But when it is a young child, it is for all the children in the village, the community, the clan, whatever, the nation, depending on uh, the circumstances. All of them are called. Why is this? Why is that? As we know, that when a mother is growing a baby inside of her, The mother, of course, is doing many things. She's doing many things to take care of her own health. Many things that she is doing is actually showing everyone else as to how to react or how to interact when between a mother and a child that is growing in the body, the belly of a mother. So you have heard this, that a mother would be rubbing her belly and she would be singing her song to her child. And most of the time, the mother knows if she's having a female child or a male child. This is knowable. It's not knowable to you. I, in my life, have learned that, well, for a male, you look at the back of the mother and you can tell based on uh, the muscles in the back that apparently, if it's a male child, the muscles are more have to be more strong to carry that male child. Anyways, you see like of the muscle or the flesh in the back that if it's a male child, it builds up more here. And you can tell, but also mothers, when you have uh, like a whole society to gauge by, then you're not going just by what your sister told you what it's like when she was pregnant. You're gauging by what everybody's experience is. And you'll see that everybody's collective experience will lead you to be able to know or to deduce, well, what you are having, male or female. And of course, that isn't always necessarily set in stone either. But when that baby is growing in your belly and you're rubbing your belly and you're singing to the baby, it makes a difference if you are singing to a male or if you're singing to a female. So, anyways, the mother would be rubbing her belly, singing, constantly talking to that baby. And don't forget that the children are raised by the mothers. So, what does that mean? That means all the little children who are babies themselves up to 12, 13, 14 years old, uh, they are all being raised by the mothers. They are always around the women. And so the little kids are especially linked to a mother when she is carrying a baby. Young kids are um, more interested in that than older kids. So the younger kids are more drawn to this because they're fresh, closer to that flashpoint of knowing what it's like to be a baby and that process. So it's for that reason why, well, the children are around. And when the children are around, the mother is talking to them, explaining where does baby come from? Everybody deals with this in their nations, in their people. That all children throughout time have asked, where's the baby come from? Where did I come from? When they get old enough to be able to start putting two and two together, when they hear that the mother is pregnant again, and the mother automatically says, oh, yeah, just like you came this way too. And then the baby or the child will say, how did it happen? Where did I come from? And this is where the mother will start explaining that Yonkiat Dizzer is putting the baby together here in my belly and explaining to whatever depth or degree that the mother wishes, but she's always identifying that this is a gift from Yonkiat Dizzer, that this child, what she's pregnant with, is a gift from all creation, and that this gift is here to for the people, to make the people happy, to make the people strong, to become another rafter within a longhouse. And so, well, the young kids are hearing this now. The young kids knowing that this child is a gift from the Creator. Then, when a baby dies within 3 days, this is where, in the minds of the children, they will automatically deduce that this is a gift of the Creator and we all came through this process, then why is this one baby being taken from us? Why is this one baby dying within 3 days of being born? It's an automatic red flag in the minds of all the children. Why? Then you can see where a child will start to question or doubt things. Uh, if the Creator is sending this gift, then why is this gift dying like that when most children will not see or hear of another child dying within 3 days of birth? That is not a norm within society. It's the exception. It's not the status quo. Status quo is most live, and if somebody dies, most do not see it. Most of us are not aware that that child dies. So it's not a thing that is there continuously where the children are always aware that, well, it's a 50-50 thing. You know, you could live or die. We could lose a child in childbirth or whatever. They're not aware of these things. So this is the reason why the children are gathered in a special feast, special ceremony for the children. It isn't, that one is not for the parents and the other loved ones. It's for the children. So there is a peace of mind that must be restored to the children when they see that a new spirit that Yonki Bizu is sending us has been taken. So in order to appease the minds of the children, special ceremony for them, they become at a stage like that. You got to think, okay, if these kids who know the mother and who was taught by the mother that yes, Yonki Bizu, the Creator, is sending us this sacred gift. So you know that those children are of a certain mindset. They're being prepared that there's another child coming into the world. You know, for 9 moons, they're prepared. All right, my baby sister, my baby brother, my baby cousin, whatever. You know, the minds of the children are in a different celebratory mood than what the adults are. And since their minds are so fragile, you can see we're easily under these conditions that the children could have. It could be the source of psychological instability. And so it's for this reason that special ceremony held just for the children, the little kids. So this is something that you don't see anywhere else. You know, you don't experience this in non-native society. You have no responsibility to the collective. You have no responsibility to each other. You know, somebody dies across the street, you don't know them. Well, it's none of your business. This is the mentality of today. But anyways, it is our business. We are our brother's keeper. We have to judge whenever there is something corrupted happening around us. And so if we seen there was something that a mother was doing that was, say, crazy, that was jeopardizing her child, like maybe she was, I don't know, doing something to her belly some way, somehow, you know, like the children would see this and the children would know that, hey, there's something wrong there. So there's a lot of different possibilities under those circumstances. You know, who knows when a child dies? You know, who knows what the complete circumstances may be? But it has to be addressed to the young children so that to uh, nip in the bud any trauma that they receive from that. Okay, so yeah, we'll move on. Unless there's something anybody wants to say about that. At the funeral of an infant or young woman, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. You were a tender bud and gladdened our hearts for only a few days. Now the bloom has withered away, etc. Let none of the things that transpired on earth hinder you. Let nothing that happened while you lived hinder you. The remainder is the same as the address at the funeral of a chief. So, okay, 110. At the funeral of a woman of the people, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. You were once a woman in the flower of life, and the bloom is now withered away. You once held a sacred position as a mother of the nation. Looking after your family was a sacred duty, and you were faithful. Feasting was yours. The remainder is the same as the address at the funeral of the chief. Drink water. Hey, cutie, patootie. Cutie, cutie on duty is here. Okay, so now at the funeral of a clan mother, woman chief, say, now we become reconciled as you start away. You were once a clan mother, woman chief of the Five Nations Confederacy. You were once a mother of the nations. Now we release you, for it is true, it is no longer possible for us to walk about together on our Mother Earth. Now therefore we lay it, the body here. Here we lay it away. Now then we say to you, persevere onward to the place where the Creator dwells in peace. Let not the things of this earth hinder you. Let nothing that transpired while you lived hinder you. Under your authority, you had provided peace and happiness for all the united people and all who sought shelter beneath the great tree of peace. You loved all the people, and the people loved you for the sacred duty in which you were selected. Looking after your family was a sacred duty, and you were faithful. You were one of the many joint heirs of the chieftainship titles. Feastings were yours, and you had pleasant occasions. The remainder is the same as the address at the funeral of a chief. When a dead person, the body, is brought to the burial place, the speaker, on the opposite side of the council fire, shall bid the bereaved family cheer their minds once again and rekindle their heart fires in peace, to put their house in order and once again be in the brightness of our eldest brother the sun, for darkness has covered them. He shall say that the black clouds shall roll away, and that the bright blue sky is visible once again. Therefore shall they be in peace in the sunshine and enjoy once again the beauty of life beneath the great tree of peace and the Granada Civic Goa. Three strings of shell, one span in length, shall be employed in addressing the assemblage at the burial of the dead. The speaker shall say, hearken, you who are here, this body is to be covered. Assemble in this place again in 10 days. Hence, for it is the decree of the Creator that mourning shall cease when 10 days have expired. Then a feast shall be made. Then, at the expiration of 10 days, the speaker shall say, continue to listen, you who are here. The 10 days of mourning have expired, and your mind must now be freed of sorrow as before the loss of your relative. The relatives have decided to make a little compensation to those who have assisted at the funeral. It is a mere expression of thanks. This is to the one who did the cooking while the body was lying in the house. Let her come forward and receive this gift and be dismissed from the task. In substance, this will be repeated for everyone who assisted in any way, until all have been remembered. The gifts that are to be given must be the belongings of the deceased. The immediate family is to distribute these gifts directly. This is to represent that the surviving family members are physically releasing their deceased relative. Okay, so you hear the funeral addresses, it's in English, and as you know, there is a very big difference between what is the Ganyangeha words and, of course, what's in English. This is the reason why, as Wayagero identified to us many times, like as you see in the Mohawk classes, that we may think in our head that, okay, here's a word in English, television. Okay, there's got to be a word in Mohawk that's a direct translation to television. Well, of course there isn't. We never had televisions. So there is an expletive. There is something that a word or a couple of words put together, assembled in such a way that describes. So here in English, do not think that these words are um, the complete wording. This is again only a reminder as to what must be said, what must be addressed, because when we are in that state, there is many things in our minds, and if you are the speaker, you're always trying to walk softly around, not to hurt anyone, not to bruise anybody's feelings, not to say something that maybe is out of place to that family, so that the speaker is always walking on eggshells. And so, for this reason, there is a bare minimum reminder as to the things that must be addressed. Now, in a non native society, we know that nobody really knows how to handle the passage of the dead. You've never handled it physically, you've never handled the body of your loved ones, you never bury them, you never speak in death, in circumstances such as this. So the reality is, it's like the society is completely at a loss when it comes to this. One of the most important parts, the most important things, aspects to being alive. Just as the other most important aspect of being born, this is also taken away from the people, that the people have no knowledge of these things. So, of course, these are the things. Everything that we discussed is what the people, the woman's nation, is designed to do, to bring back all of the natural responsibilities that we have to each other. We do not have luxuries in this world. We have responsibilities. We do not have the luxury of deciding to go on vacation. If you do, then you are wasting your time, your energy. Because while you are going on vacation, imagine what you can be doing if you were focused on your people, if you were focused on your territory, if you were focused on our Mother Earth, on creation, then you would never go on vacation. You would always be working to make sure that when you came into this world, you're going to leave it in better shape when you leave than the way that it was when you came in. So this means that you must work, you must toil all your life to constantly improve, to do these things. So let's say the grass needs to be cut here. Well, no, I got to go on vacation. So while I'm on vacation, while the grass is growing 10 feet high, there's weeds all over. Trees are growing now where you had grass where the kids could play, and now the shoots that are coming out of the ground, even if you cut them, they're going to be too big. They're going to hurt your feet to walk. So we cannot ever neglect what our responsibilities are. The moment you neglect, you are going to fall behind and you are going to lose ground. And if you fall behind, evolution keeps on moving. So that means falling behind, you are not going to stay in one place, like in a neutral spot, so to speak. That gap between you and evolution will always be getting bigger and bigger. So, in reality, there is no such thing as being neutral in this world. If you are neutral, you are actually going in the opposite way against all things in creation. And so, here, the most important, most sacred part of our lives, bringing a child into the world and assisting another child out of this world. And that child just may be your mother or father. So it is a very solemn issue. And what's identified is that, as there are three clans within the Ganyangahaga, or no matter what nation you are in, no matter what clan you are, it is never your clan doing the work. Like, for instance, my father is a bear clan, so it's not going to be the bear clan who's going to be doing the funeral addresses. It's going to be the opposite side of the house. And so it may be, depending on who you are married to. In my father's case, he's married to a wolf clan, so it would have most likely been a turtle clan that would be doing the speaking over the body and to addressing the family. Because the family that is in mourning is the father is of the bear clan, so it won't be bear clan to do it. And the family is, in my case, wolf clan. So it wouldn't be the wolf clan to be doing it. Unfortunately, what happened in my case with my family is there is no one on this planet that I would have allowed to do the death rites, the recital of the funeral address over my father. There's nobody on this planet that I would allow that for anyone to do. So I had to do it myself. Now, I should not have been in that position of having to do it myself. But when you're in emergency conditions and the people dwindle down to basically almost nothing, we are not left at, in a position of where, oh, we're helpless. We can't do nothing because there's nobody there to do it. No, there is always emergency. And in this case, like with my father, the emergency conditions dictated that myself, his son, carries out the death rites over his body and at the burial site and addressing the remaining family. So, in that sense, like what happened with my father, it was a very hard thing to do. We knew that the time was approaching where he was going to pass. We knew it for he was in his death spiral for over a year, maybe about a year and a half actually, that he was actually going down. But when we think back, we can go to the last recital, and we could see all of us knew that he was fighting, struggling there just to get through the recital, and he held on for quite some time, a year and a half. So even though we knew that he was dying, that when it happened, it was very hard. Uh, it was very hard to take the responsibility because first, these this is the thing that you have to deal with. What I had to deal with is the first thing is that I never thought in my life that it would be wiping my father's rear end. I never thought that. I never thought about it. Nobody ever said in Longhouse, in open ceremony, that we have to take care of our dead. Everybody over the last, I'd say at least 70 years, no one has taken care of their own dead. Everybody has had their dead go to a funeral home, have their bodies taken care of that way. Through the religification, everybody just had their families uh, uh, enslaved under religious dogma or whatever. And so there was nobody, and again, at least 70 years, I'd say, who was taken care of by their own family. But I would say there's nobody in the last, at least the last 150 years, that was buried the way that my father was. So for this, it was quite a challenge upon me to be able to provide that from my father. Now, I was born and raised in the Longhouse, so I always knew that, well, we heard at least that much. You die in the morning, you're buried before sunset. If you die like in the afternoon, well, okay, you're buried the next day before sunset. So I've always known this, but when you're actually there, it's not that easy for you to imagine how you're going to get through that day, how you're going to deal with all the things you have to deal with in that day. And so normally, This is the reason why somebody else, the other clan, is left to deal with all of the preparations for the dead, everything. But in this case, we had to deal with almost everything. The only thing I didn't have to deal with was the actual digging of the hole, which I know that at some point I will be dealing with that on some level for somebody. And hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully I don't. Hopefully, it's only the next generations that will have to do that, only when it comes time to deal with me. And hopefully, there will be people there to dispose of my body in the proper way. This was a great uh, human learning experience. It was a great human process of forming my humanity. It got me to a different level of understanding, got me to a different level of being a human. Where, because I know nobody else does it, no one else has done it, but we done what has not been done in at least 150 years. And so, very proud of this. And what gave me and what gave us that ability to do that is Guyana Goa. It was the resolve of the Guyana Goa in my own head, in my own mind, that pushed us, enabled us to do this, even for Edith, even though that it was nothing in her mind as to how this was supposed to be or whatever. Just the fact that she was there at the end, assisting when we brought my father to the hospital and we had to make that crazy decision to bring his body back. Anyways, right then and there, I know that Edith never was confronted with these things. I was confronted with it, and then when I told her to do this, then she was confronted with it, but in a different way. It's like, okay, you're being told, okay, you're being told, you do what you're told. Especially when you're in that state of mourning. Not that it was Edith's loved one, but it was somebody that Edith was close to and became as a loved one. And so it was a mourning for her also. But when you're in that state and you're being told, it's much easier just to do stuff. But when you're in that state of where I had to determine, I had to decide, it was very hard. It was a very big, uh, it was a life changing day. And again, you go through that and it molds you, mold me more to be what my mother brought me in this world to be. And so, uh, if a person, again, adheres to law, even in that darkest time of losing a loved one, you could be the last two people on the planet and your loved one dies. You're going to have the most pressure upon you ever. If you follow law, you'll be able to get through that day. And like it says, that again, when you get through that day, once again, the brightness of our eldest brother, the sun, will shine upon you. And this is indeed what has happened since the time that my father has left. I'll say, because of the way that we handled all these things, that our eldest brother, the sun, has been shining upon us, has been making things so much easier, have been revealing things that have not been known before, that just general overall goodness, happiness has been happening. Knock on wood, we don't have any bad things since then. And I know it's because when you are doing good things, that even though there may be a bunch of no good, dirty, rotten pieces of you know what surrounding you, you may be in the middle of the garbage, but no matter what, if you are carrying out good things, if you are doing good things for other people, then this is going to reflect upon you. That in turn, the things within creation that are depending upon you to carry out these things, those things will then smile upon you. And we have been smiled upon since the passing of my father at the time that we were able to put him away in the proper fashion. What has smiled upon us is knowledge. Now we have knowledge. My sons have knowledge of how to take care of the dead. It was their grandfather. They were raised by their grandfather. He was always there with them every day of their lives. My father was there and made sure they were always fed. They were always healthy. They were always looked after. There was nothing wrong happening about them. There was always good things because their Baba always looked after them. And so when he died, that they were there. I took them. We put my father's body when we got him back here. We put him on the table in the middle of the room, and I told my sons, "Come and look at him. Come and look at his eyes. His eyes were still open." I says, "Look at his eyes," and you could see that at a certain period, after a certain amount of time, the body, of course, starts to decay. You can see the eyes start to collapse. So my sons are aware of this. They're not afraid of it. If they were confronted with it the first time, if they had to say, "Bury me," and they were confronted with it the first time, it might be something that they might be scared of, or they might not be so easily uh, able to handle it. But they came and looked at his eyes. They said, "Look, right up close." They came and looked right into his eyes, and you could see that the iris had already collapsed. That you can see the juice of the eyeball was already pretty much gone. I turned him on his side. I says, "Look at his back. Look at what happens. Become familiar. What happens to a body after they are deceased." And so when I turned him on his back, you could see where he was laying, like on, if it was the sheet or the mattress, whatever. You can see all the marks, that it caused on the body. That, of course, the body turns purple very fast. Uh, it blemishes the skin, the color, it gets discoloration really fast. So they're familiar with this. It is not something that they will be shocked when I die or somebody else dies. When it came time to put the body in the ground, my two sons picked up their Bubba's body, carried and handed their Bubba's body to myself and my nephew, who were in the actual grave, to lower my father's body into the ground. He was naked to the world. The way that he came in the world, that's the way he went out. And I am very proud to be able to have done that for my father, because my father saved my life on more than a couple of occasions. When I was in the hospital, for instance, to have my appendix out. My appendix was exploding. They were going to operate on me. My father was in New York City. He was working. He heard about this. He came back. I was in the hospital. They had those tubes and wires in me, preparing me for operation the next morning. He took me out of the hospital. He says, "Take those things out of his arms." He says, "He's not getting that operation. You're not taking nothing out of him. He's going to leave this world the way that he came in." And my father took me home and fixed me with our medicines, and I still have my appendix today. Knock on wood, but my father made it so that I still am complete in this world, to be buried the way that I came in. And so I am very proud to know, or to be able to say, that I have done for my father what he has done for me, that he has protected me from these corruptions of the medical industry. All they want to do is, "Oh, yeah, take out the appendix." It's not necessary. They don't heal it, they take it out. And everybody today thinks it's okay. As a matter of fact, I have had discussions, I think, with some of you. And some of you have even defended the process of that. "Well, it's okay. You can get it out. It's not really necessary." No. Everything in your body is necessary. And you came in that way. You are to leave this way. This is of the corruptions of this world, of the male dominant medical industry, is that you, if you were to have a weak heart, you would, people know, you have access to getting a heart transplant today. You can get that done, but are you supposed to get it done? I will say no. We will stand right now in a debate on this and say no. You are not supposed to get a heart transplant. You are not supposed to get a lung transplant. And maybe in the future, I may end up kicking myself in the rear end for this because maybe in the future, I or maybe some of my loved ones, their lives may be dependent on some type of transplant. But at this moment, I will say no, do not get a transplant. There was a good friend of ours who passed away. Uh, I won't say his name, but I'll say his last name. He was a marker. And his wife, Anne, and his daughter, what's his daughter's name? Chelsea. Chelsea, sorry. His wife and his daughter left behind. We had discussions with them, and they told us that he had died of cancer, and he had went for stem cell. Uh, it was stem cell therapy, and what she identified to us was that how it works is they take stem cells from somebody else, from their DNA, that matches your DNA. Doesn't have to be your family. It could be somebody on the other side of the world. They take their stem cells, but first, the cells in your body, every cell, and you know there's trillions, they have to be eradicated. So they kill all the cells in your body, and then they put somebody else's stem cells in your body to take over your cells. And so, what they told us, what he experienced, was that after he had this transfusion or whatever, that he had said to them that I forget the exact words now, but he told them that something funny was going on in the hospital, that they were doing something to his spirit because you're getting stem cells from, just as an example, Elsa, and putting them in my body. But first, you got to kill off all the cells in my body. Now, this is the same, along the same lines as getting a heart transplant, getting a lung transplant, kidney, liver, whatever. It's the same as getting that because there you might not see an actual organ that was transplanted, but it's the stem cells. And again, you kill all the cells in my body and you replace them with someone else's cells. So that means your cells are gone. You are gone. What is left there now is someone else, not you, somebody else. And so this is the same thing with transplants, that it is somebody else. This is not the way it is supposed to be. When you go into the garden, when is it time to pick the corn? Is it on August 10th? Is it set a date? When do we know when to pick the corn?
When it's ready.
When it's ready. Now, are all the corns ready at the same time?
Nope.
No, they're not. We may have a garden here, and the corn may be ready to pick here. There'll be a garden down the hill, and the corn will not be ready to pick there. So, what it tells you is just like in the garden, when it's ready, that's when it's time. And just like you, when you are ready, that will be your time. And nothing should interfere with when it is your time. Because when it is your time, it is aligned with things not only in this world for you to be born, it is aligned with things in the next world. So just imagine that a baby being born from the womb. All the baby knows is the womb of its mother. It doesn't know of the next world where it's being born into. What the fact is in the next world where the baby's being born into, there's a whole bunch of people at work. There's a whole bunch of things going on. That baby doesn't know what's going on over here on this side, but through the cycles of creation, we know that there's a baby coming into the world, so we prepare for it. When it is time, that baby will be born. And so, the same thing, when a, when a person when it is time for them to die, it's because you are being aligned. You are being aligned with the different dimensions, the different realities of which we are connected with, the things that the real things of which connects us from one realm to the next. And so, if it's time for you, what? Let's say the time was decided a long time ago because everything that you do is already predetermined because it's all by design in your eggs. And so our mothers, it's already in our mother, in my mother's eggs when I am to die. It is already there. It's already designed. And so when these things align from this realm into the next, it's time for you to go. It's based on everything that you are. So it's aligning with the fact that, okay, maybe the person has a weak heart and it's going to align up at this time. But what if you get a heart transplant? You may die earlier. You may die later. What happens when we're looking at a baby to be born in this world and the circumstances of being born earlier or later occurs? What does that mean? It means something could happen to that baby. Like if the baby a premature or a baby that's gone beyond the what do you call that cycle? It's gone beyond the trimester or something. What do you call that? When you go too far beyond, you know that it's dangerous. That today doctors even talk about inducing. And so, if you have been a transplant, that will affect you, either make you early or make you late. And so, what we don't realize here in this realm, that as we're playing, as the non-native is playing God with their medical industry, their male-dominant medical industry, actually cutting bodies open. This is an abomination. You are not supposed to cut open the human body. The only time, if that is to be done, is if there is a huge trauma that has happened. That maybe there's an arrow sticking into somebody, and you have to cut them open to in order to deal with getting that arrow out, or something of that nature. The only time that humans are to be working with the human body that way is to repair something that happened. Maybe a big rock falls on my head split open. Well, you got to repair that. But we are not to desecrate the human body in the way that the male dominant medical industry is doing in this world today. Humans are an experiment. You're being experimented upon. Now, who of us would say, okay, do medical experiments upon me? Who would say that? Nobody. The only person who might say that is somebody who is about to die and they're hanging on to their dear life. Why? Because they are afraid. Yes, not to say that we rush to our death, but when our death comes, we don't run from it. We'd be crazy to run from it. Imagine the baby in the womb of a mother that's ready to be born, and it's it's borning time. It's time to be born now, and the baby runs from it. Imagine when it is time, the same way that we work, what the world knows today as Indian time. Indian time is not Indian time. Indian time is being on time. It's when you are ready, that's when it will happen. And so there's a lot of things in this world how we are desecrating the human body that we are not supposed to. So this is in life and death. There's a lot to understand about our relationship with the human body. We may be afraid of death. I forget who said this now. Somebody said in their oration, but oh, people may not believe or doubt of the recycling process. And this is because of, in the English language, there's the reference of death. What does death mean? What does that mean? All you know what it means is it's the end of your life. The end. Nothing else further from there. So death, the word death in English is an abominative word. It's a word that is created to take you away from the true reality of creation. In reality, what you know the interpretation? The interpretation of the word death, it does not mean that. Death, in the English language, again, it means that's it, it's done, it's over, nothing else. But in reality, when you die, when you come to the end of your life, it is time for you to be recycled. It is time for, it's a time of renewal. So it's a time for renewal, then why do we call it death? When death finalizes, makes it so final that it's a fatalistic word, a word to end. It's the end of something. Well, let's see. When a baby is being born out of the womb of its mother into this world, is it the end of the baby's life? It's the end of the baby's life in the womb of the mother, but we know that it's born into the next realm. So it is not death for the baby, it is renewal. But this is again why many women today feel postpartum depression because of the corruption of the male dominant world that has taken away knowledge of the natural cycles, that we fear death. And if we fear death, we don't understand life. And if we don't understand life, then we're not aware of the birthing process. And if we're not aware of the birthing process, then we cannot prepare ourselves for it. Do women have to be prepared for the birthing process? I would say you're damn right you have to be prepared. I don't know. I've never felt the love of being pregnant and giving birth. I've never felt that. Some women will say it's pain. I will say, from my perspective, that I can't see anybody describing it as a lot of pain. I can only see it as a lot of love. But anyways, the minds have to be prepared today to give birth, because what happens in postpartum depression, imagine all the cells in, in, in the whole body of the woman, but especially in the womb. All those cells are working to build the baby. They're building a body, putting a body around the spirit. They're connecting a spirit and a body together. And so they know all their life they're creating this. That's their whole life is 9 moons of creating a baby in the belly of a mother. And then all those cells, all of a sudden, when the baby is born, the baby's gone. Just like us. All our lives we're with somebody, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. This is where, when to us, it's that person is dead. And so we mourn. But in the body of a mother, it is like to the body that the baby is dead now to the body, because the baby is gone from the interior of the mother's body. There's no more baby in the womb. So all those cells in the womb have this perspective of that the baby is dead. Hence, this is the cause to postpartum depression in this world. But it can be avoided, postpartum depression, quite simply by the women knowing the proper, the truth of the realities of the cycles. And the number one distortion of, of what happens in birth is the lie of death. This is a lie. All we got to do is look at, we know right now that on my feet, there are skin cells that are falling off of my feet constantly, every day. Are they dying? Are my feet dying? My feet are not dying. The cells are being replenished, which means the body of each individual cell, one body is dying off, but a new one is coming to replenish it. Which means when we know that we get our spirit from the body, then the skin cells that are dropping off of me, they may be in the cycle of renewal, but in my mind, I am not perceiving it as death, and I am not even perceiving it as a renewal, because it's something that is happening naturally upon my body. And so what happens to people naturally upon the body of our Mother Earth is we become recycled. That's why people have memories of time, long time ago, before they were born. They'll have a memory of something, or they'll have a knowledge of in their mind of something that there's no way they could have this knowledge. It's because of our recycling process. Your DNA that you have in your body right now was not created in your body. It wasn't created just for you. That DNA is created right at the very beginnings of time. Just the same way that you know that when you were born in this world, each of you women, each of the life givers, as a baby, you were born with all your eggs already. So it was predetermined. Every moon that you had was predetermined in your eggs. Everything that you were going to do in your life is predetermined in your eggs. And so we can see that you're carrying this DNA from your mother. She's carrying it from her mother, and so on and so on and so on. So who are we? Are we a species that dies? No, we do not die. We renew. Now, big deal. If you don't want to believe this, if you want to believe in death, and that's the final thing, it will be final for you. But the fact is, science tells us of the renewal process because right at the level, our cellular level, in our DNA structure, we know that there is a constant renewal. And so we also are renewed. This is how I know, this is how I feel that, like when my mother passed, I never felt that she was gone. I never mourned. The only time I cried is when they closed her coffin, and that was it. Now we were able to improve because we evolved. And when it came time for my father, no coffin. So, corrections here. What do? No coffin. You are buried without a coffin. You got clothes on? No. Why would you put clothes 6 feet beneath the earth when you know what today's clothes are like? Why are you going to put that beneath the earth? First off, you're wasting those clothes. Second off, those clothes are going to become part of what's going to poison the earth. Even though it's not like the equivalent of a nuclear bomb or something, the tiniest little poison that you do contributes to the overall poison. So, no coffins, no clothes. You were not born with clothes on, and so you should not leave this world with clothes on. You should do exactly what my father said when he saved me from dying, from being operated on. We should leave this world the way that we came in. So, no coffins, no clothes to be buried in. The only thing, what my father was, how he was buried, was he was wrapped in a blanket. And that is only because of, to make it easier for the people who are handling the body. This way you don't have to handle flesh, you don't have to feel that. Even at a certain point, the flesh will start to become very loose, like it would almost peel off. So you don't want to be exposed to that. So he was only wrapped in a blanket. And you know how much it costed to bury my father? Not 1 cent. Not one single cent. How much is it going to cost you to bury one of your loved ones?
At least 5,000 around that.
At least $5,000. Now imagine this. Elders know that when they're going to die, that they are going to place a huge economic burden upon their loved ones. You know what? Elders don't want to do that. They don't want to. When they're young, when they buried somebody, they may have given their parents this big lavish funeral, a big brass casket inside of a brass airtight container. This is what I've seen. When I was a kid, my father's cousin, the late Don Eagle, he was buried in a brass coffin, and that brass coffin was placed inside of a cylinder that was airtight, like with one of those wheels, just like on a ship or a submarine that you turn to close the doors. There was one of those to seal his coffin. Imagine how much that cost. Must have costed a lot of money. So people, when they're younger, they'll give this big lavish funeral to their loved one. They'll buy a tombstone that costs $10,000, $20,000 even. They'll build a mausoleum. So it could cost you up to $30,000 to die. When you get to that age, even if you did that for somebody else, you're smart enough now. By the time you get old, you don't want to do that. You don't want to burden your children or your loved ones with a huge cost just for you. You're gonna die. What good? What good is it gonna do to put your body in a beautiful brass coffin? Is it gonna matter to you? It ain't gonna matter to you. You're gonna want the thing that costs the least amount, not just amount of money, but the least amount of stress and time and everything for your loved ones. So there's a lot to think about here. The woman's nation, as you constitute, it's not just life here in this world that you have to deal with, it's the transitions. It's getting control of the birthing process, bringing it back where it belongs, into the hands of the mothers. The male has no place in the birthing process. Where the male has a place is in the death. It's all done by the male. The birthing is all done by the female. And so this is how it works in this world. You're nurtured, you're brought into this world by the female, and then you are taken care of by the male to leave this world. This is the equilibrium. So it's an equilibrium of the female and the male walking together. But when you're looking at your steps right here, it's a matter of a split second. My left one moves and then my right one is right behind it. It's a matter of a split second. But in our lifespan, the woman bringing us into the world, the first step, and then us leaving the world, that span, that footstep, could be over a period of spanning, like my father, 87 years. It took 87 years to take one step. And so that step must be in equilibrium with one another. It starts off on our left foot, that our mother brings us into the world. So this is where we say the woman's nation, the purpose for law recital is to regain control of all that has been stolen from you. Regain control of your birthing process. When you get control of this, then you can teach your men how to take care of the dead. And this is how to take care of the dead. It is to be clean, it is to be fast, and it is to be of no pressure or stress on the loved ones left in this world. So that means you do not do the work, somebody else does. This is where you find the importance of clan. The importance of clan is that if your family, if there's nobody in your family to take care of you, because some people have small families, then you have clan. And then there is somebody always to take care of you. And so this is part of what Woman's Nation has to return into this world. The true family, the extended family. You have been isolated down to believing that just your husband and your children are your family. No, that is not true. And in most cases, you know that a husband isn't even a part of your family. It's your children that are really your family. You can go through the act of love with a man. He'll be there to help you to create a baby. But in this world, most men are not there to help you raise that baby. Anyways, all of these things are what must be gotten back under control of our mothers. Okay, there's only two short wampums left. 115. Adding to the rafters. If the conditions shall arise at any future time, call for an addition to or change of this law, The case shall be carefully considered, and if a new being seems necessary or beneficial, the proposed change shall be deliberated upon in council, and if adopted, it shall be called added to the rafters. This exemplifies that the law is ever evolving with the people in relation to the environment in which we live. So here, uh, this would be in the non-native world, perhaps the first thing that you may be confronted with adding to your rafters, where in the past you have not taken care of your own bed. This is where you will have to add this to your rafters, the first thing, because I don't think any of you are going to be bringing a child into this world anytime soon. And so the first thing you will be confronted with to really affect change is how you're going to take care of the bed. So this is the thing where you will have to add to your own rafters, meaning it wasn't there in your house, in your shelter before. It was left to somebody else. So you have to build this part of your house back. It needs to be rebuilt. 116, new or added rafters. Okay, now this here is not open for debate, but it's kind of a little gray area. New or added rafters. Although it may be debated as to the actual time period and whether it was actually adopted through the Grand Council or not, there has been an accepted practice that has been adopted by virtually everyone throughout the Confederacy, which is that of reinstatement, whereby it was experienced that since the coming of the other peoples, many of our people have been stolen and enslaved by the foreign invaders. This provides that peoples who fall under this category may approach the Longhouse to return home and make their wishes known by putting their name into the well. The council shall then deliberate on the issue, and upon acceptance shall reinstate and name the individual in the naming ceremony. Now, a reinstatement is actually there in all things. If you belong to a union and you let your union dues go without paying for a long time, well, you're going to get kicked out of the union. But, you know, they don't want to lose you because you're money to them. So even unions have such a thing called reinstatement. They have reinstatement to clubs. If you're a part of a club and you let your membership go by, well, you can always reinstate your membership. But in the law, there is a reality. When a person leaves the circle of the 48 chiefs with their hands so joined that you leave it, you leave it for good. There is no way that once you're dead, there's no way you're going to come back to life. So when you're dead, you're dead. When you're out of the Confederacy, you're gone. But what our people have seen is that there was a huge corruption that had taken place with the coming of the non-native persons from across the Great Waters, and this has caused such influence into the minds of the people that it has taken the people away from the realities, the cyclical motions of our Mother Earth. And it has enslaved people into religions. It's enslaved people through music, through entertainment, through different ways. People are enslaved, get away from their identity. It was for this reason that we had seen that the chiefs of the Confederacy had provided or created this provision of reinstatement. Now, it is a practice of every nation, but I don't think anybody's ever going to tell you that it was actually passed and sanctioned in Grand Council. There is no proof of that, no evidence of that. But regardless, it is a practice that all of us, each nation, has the right to do. Each nation has the right to reconsider or consider any issue based on their own merits. And so, as somebody may have been taken away as a child, for instance, say residential schools. That was not their own choice. But now, when they're adults, well, their brains are dumb because of the residential school. They support the things, the corruptions from the non-native world. They participate in those things. They vote. They participate in their religions. That person did not know because they were stolen. They were kidnapped. And so, for such a person, there is provision of reinstatement. But it is to know that if you are the one being reinstated, there is a process you must go through. And if you are reinstated today, that does not mean that you are eligible. If you carry a clan, does not mean you're eligible to hold a chieftainship title. No. What has been determined and what is added to the rafters is here we have identified that in order to be eligible to hold a chieftainship title or a female chieftainship title, is that the person must come from at least a three generational background. They must come from three generations unbroken within the longhouse. Now that means, for instance, if it's you, let's say you're a mother, uh, you come in, you reinstate, you cannot hold position. What? Your daughter's daughter can, and that will be in your lifetime. And this is how you can have immediate access. If you were one of the ones that went off the pat and had applied for reinstatement, you can have immediate access in your life back to that function of chieftainship title, of female chieftainship title or male chieftainship title. So not that you would be the title, but through your granddaughter, you would have access to that. So anybody who is not coming from a continuous, unbroken bloodline within the Longhouse, you are not eligible to hold chieftainship title. Now, here we are talking at pretty much like at the end of 2,000 years of the Great Law of Peace existing already. For the Women's Nation, you are just coming into it. So, as you are just coming into law and adopting law, then you will have the ability to be able to raise, uh, even though you may be the first ones coming into this nation, you will be have the ability, access to fill those titles within you. You won't be filling our titles, you'll be filling your titles within you, within the women. Okay, so, you know what? We are done.
Oh wow! Are you
We are done. Everything that you have heard over the past, what, 16 days?
15?
15 days. Well, it's going to be 16 because we still got to carry out the ceremony. Like we said, when it came time for rites and ceremonies protected, that we were going to carry out the ceremony. Circumstances, the way it was, we said, no, we're going to do it at the end. So it will be 16 days. This was actually the shortest that we've done it, 16 days. Before, we've done it at a 16-day period. The first time my father and I did it, it was under the request of the late Aunt Jock to have this done for her family in Akwesasne. And she had a huge family. I think just her children, I think she had, I might be wrong, but I think she had 18 kids. And so she had like a gazillion grandchildren. Uh, she had the population of a small country, of just her children, her grandchildren, and her great grandchildren. And so when we did that in 1987, my father and I, it was under her request. And what she had identified at the time is that her family needed it, that she was concerned about what was happening to her family. And so that time, we did it within, I think it was 5 or 6 days, because it was the first time that we had done it on request like that. So we never did it external. It was always something that was just happening in the house, and it wasn't law recital. It was just like a renewal, like discussion. on law. But anyways, in '87, that's when the first time we got started on that in that process, and it took 5 or 6 days. Another time, when we started doing it regularly like that, then the shortest was 16. The longest was 26 days. So here we did it within uh, 10 days less than what we would do it normally for us. This is because there is a lot of things that was unnecessary to share with you. Because a lot of the things that have to do with us, with my specific family, my nation, it doesn't apply to you. A lot of those things you wouldn't understand it anyways. So when we're talking about law of how to run a family, well, your particular family doesn't have anything to do with that. It's the law that is being adopted. Okay, so uh, what we'll do is we'll just send the fella around, and if you have anything to say, then now's the time to say it on basically absolutely anything or everything that we talked about. And if there's nothing you wish to say at this time, then just pass it on. You know that we are going to continue with the ceremony, so you may find your voice there, but whatever. Anyways, right now, so we'll send the fella around. Oh. Is that him? Those bags should be over here.
Hi, my name is Cyril. I'm the daughter of Florette, the granddaughter of Cecile, and the mother of Roxanne. My mom right now is going through the final phase, maybe, with what she's experimenting. We are very much thinking of that's what's happening. Um, the past rampoons that we went through from talking about death was very deeply touching me because I know it's going to come very soon for myself. Um, I also find a coincidence that I started a fast and that the recital is finishing at the exact same time as my fast is finishing. I do feel inside that it's a renewal. I feel cleansed. I'm ready to take on a new way of life. It is a lifetime changing to apply this law. I wish this to be taking place into my daughter's life as well, just by me applying it, she will be seeing how I conduct myself. I've met with all of you girls, all of you women, and I feel very close to you. The intention I put in my fast was for us to come together in a very special way. That the love that we carry for our children, or the love that we carry for nature, or for other human,
for animals, that we should all live upon at the same level for each creature. We're all strong women, we all have our ways. And there's a lifetime change that happened to me once just with a picture. But it certainly showed me how everyone was seeing that picture all in a different way, but at the same time, in a very special way. So I will respect and do respect your way of seeing things, of doing things. And the judgment that I hold upon my thinking, I sure hope it's always in a good way for both of us to evaluate instead of devaluate. I'm very grateful for the Longhouse to have shared their law so that I could grow in a better way and feel more acquainted with this life than what I've been with the dominated man's life that I've been holding for the past 57 years. I already felt it from the day I met you, Stuart, that it was changing me. And I wanted to apply it in all the ways that I was learning each time I was in your presence. It's with little bites that I took it in my soul and questioned myself as to how I used to do it, how I learned to do it, and how I'll be doing it now. I did some steps since 2011 on my own, but it will be with a greater confidence that I will be facing some other change in my life that will be coming soon. I thank the Creator for letting me live in every day with the sun, the moon, mother sky, and I do feel all of what Mother Earth is offering me. I feel it when I eat, when I drink, and I'm sure my next meal will be a very much renewal of that sentiment. Thank you. Okay, just so that everybody knows, you take the feather even if you're going to speak or not. You take the feather and you pass it on. When you grab that feather, grab a handful. Normally, it would be the mat woven of hemp, but when we got the material, it was all chopped up, so we couldn't make strands of it. It was all chopped up into small pieces. So normally the mat would be put on the fire to signify the importance of the event. But since it's like this, each of you, when you grab the feather to speak, or whether you're going to speak or not, grab a handful and put it on the fire. Put your words into it, put it on the fire. Uh, while you're there, since you just got here, we just finished now. Too bad, we just finished all of that. So the fellas going around, it already went to Cecile, so Lynn, and you just heard what we're doing is we're normally it would be the mat woven of hemp, we would burn it, but because of what we just said, that we're each going to take a handful and put it on ourselves. So right now, since you're here now, it's a little bit of a backup, but we're going to go to you. If there's anything you want to say, even though you weren't here today, you were here for other days. If there's anything you want to encapsulate, now is the time, and you can take a handful on and put it on the fire. Well, the feather anyway, so that you hand it on to the next person.
It's gonna go. Uh, I really just don't have words. I just want to thank each one of you for all of what you have done because it was a large endeavor and it was a lot of each one of you to just be committed to this process. And it's unbelievable that we've come to the end. It's like amazing. It was not that long as in the past, so that's I would say good. But now it is like the challenge of where we are going to. Like, what are we gonna do with all of this information and all of this knowledge? And personally, I've been like trying to absorb and learn and everything that I can. And I think that this law recital has been moving me a lot inside as of how I'm gonna apply everything with my own family, with my own relations, and with all of you here. That's like the biggest challenge. I mean, how we transmit the words that have been instilled on us and this new like neuronal network that we have and how we are gonna like what Elsa says manifest it into the world. So that's the only thing that I really want to say. A big thank you for every simple gesture, for every care that you have given, for every responsibility that you have taken, for every laughter that we had, for every dance that we had, for every swimming, for every single moment that made this recital so special. We're in a beautiful grounds. I give thanks to this ground and to this land, and I never pronounce this name, but to Gahawanuji I give thanks, and also to Choroñaje I give thanks because they are protecting these grounds. I give thanks to the unbroken bloodline that has been here, standing for the law and protecting everything that is sacred, so that the people that are sincere and honest are really going to apply this into their lives, into their families, into their heart fires, into their people, because it's only love at the end that can yearn all of this. There's nothing else after that. That's the only thing that can save us. But I'm not far away. Hello, my name is Marie-Claude. I'm the great daughter of Yvette and the daughter of Francine. I'm it's a very intense moment. Of course, reminding me of the Women's Declaration that we were all part of at the time, some of us, and we are still part of today. what was written then. I think that with what we've seen during the law recital is the things that are to be affected in the world, to be changed and transformed into the world. We have a lot of work ahead. Um, the love of our mothers, of course, at the center. We know that this is the most powerful healing power that we have at our fingertips, really, but under that guidance of the great law of peace and the wisdom of the original people, I'm extremely committed to this endeavor. I'm very proud that we stood here and we gathered here to establish the Women's Nation, and I'm really ready to take on any challenge that we need to take to have this become a reality for our Mother Earth that need our urgent attention and commitment. All of our energy should be given to her for her protection, for to restore her health, and for the benefit of the faces that are yet beneath the earth, and our grandmother wound also that needs to be protected urgently. There's so many things in the world that needs to be addressed in an urgent way, and this is my pledge to the Women's Nation that I'm going to commit to this till I die, till I pass. This is my word to you, and it's a true honor to have this opportunity to affect positively, finally, positively, and align oneself to something constructive, and an invitation for anyone to join us uh, with your love, and we hope to be an example of transformation, an example of people that understand that we were manipulated to destroy what gives us life, and that there is a way to correct this, a way to go back to the first corruption, really, which is the treatment of the original people, people that were in balance and in respect of our Mother Earth and everything living on our Mother Earth. And so this is the medicine that the entire world needs. And uh, as a member of the Women's Nation, uh, our then responsibility to bring this to the entire planet, to our Mother Earth, everywhere. Thank you so much for everyone, in this central, in the heart of that Women's Nation. Thank you to constitute that beautiful heart of our Women's Nation, each and every one of you. It's an honor to be working, towards the same goal with you. I love you very much, and a lot of gratitude for the people that stood for peace, that gave their life to make sure that the great law of peace is still something we can access, still alive, that peace may return in this world, and that we could live all in balance and in respect of what is sacred. Thank you very much. Now I go. remercier tout le monde. Honorer
Tu Marie?
vous autres. J'apprécie chacun d'entre vous.
A big thank you to everyone here. I appreciate every single person here.
Tout simplement, merci à tout le monde. Puis à la prochaine. On travaille tout ensemble.
So simply thank you everyone, and we work together. My name is Annick. I am the granddaughter of Ella and Rita. I am the daughter of Kiki. I would like to say that I'm very honored to be part of the Great Recital. I would like to thank Sky Woman for giving me spirit. I would like to thank Grandmother Moon for giving me blood, giving us blood. I would like to thank Mother Nature for giving us body. And I would like to thank my mother for giving me life. And to all creation, to all life givers around the world. I'm also very honored to be part of a women's nation. It's about time that we rise up again. And my action and my mission, as we can say, is to create bridges around the world with other nations. So don't be shy to reach out. We're on the media, and we're it's very easy to reach us. I would like to specify also that as a woman nation, we are very proud to be in solidarity, but we also need life protectors. So it is also to take in consideration that women also need men to protect what we love so much, to save Grandmother Moon, the beating heart of Mother Nature, and also save Mother Nature that is under an emergency. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. We're still going to be processing for a while everything we've learned here and that we've experienced. It's going to take a while to process. I feel that we're at the beginning of things. As we say, sometimes we have to empty the cup, and to have an empty cup to be able to fill it up again. I feel like I'm cleaning up my cup to fill it up with good liquids. It's all about deconstructing and reconstructing, decolonizing. And this is what we're doing today. So everybody who's watching on Facebook, YouTube, let's all take that also into consideration, that we need to let go of our ego and deconstruct and reconstruct. It's like when we're building a house, and we have asbestos, or we have rotten wood at the bottom of our foundation. Sometimes we need to take the whole house down and rebuild it. Well, This is pretty much rebuilding what we have lost for 500 years. It's rebuilding humanity, not building buildings, but keeping our integrity as humans. So we as people have to remind ourselves the essence of what is important. Because we cannot eat money, we cannot drink petroleum. So it's important to remind ourselves every day the essence and make a difference every day. And it starts with our thoughts and our actions. It's getting go. Very peaceful. Hi, my name is France. I'm the daughter of Giselle and the granddaughter of Angelina, the great granddaughter of Armeline Loisel, who is the descendant of the first French who came here to colonize this nation, this land. Sorry about that. I said I was going to say, I think, every time because there's a lot of um, sorrow that came through this colonization. Yeah, we're forming a women's nation. That's that's the real thing right now, and it's an international women's nation, and I like to call it the great nation of the life givers, the women that rise. Um, for me, peace is a lot of things. Of course, it's related to all of us. The way that we, share our days, our thoughts, our way of talking to one another. We have a lot of work to do in that sense, but it's mainly within ourselves. Like Anik was saying, we have to start with ourselves. I agree with everybody what my sister talked about before me. I endorse that, you know. We invite everybody to come to be in peace with us. That's the great law of peace. What is peace? How do we know that we are living in peace? Sometimes we think we're living in peace because we live in an individual way and we don't bother anybody. But as we learn through the recital, there's a lot of things that we do without thinking about it that is part of waging war. So there's a lot of things to think about, to reflect on. When I started to talk about the great law of peace to people, I remember one guy was talking about matriarchy. I don't know what to say. Yeah, whatever. I guess he understood. He was just saying, you know, I'm not gonna submit myself to the women, and the women won't tell me what to do. Like that's what he said. But you have no idea how a peaceful life with women in power could bring you more peace and more fun that you would ever get. Peace bring prosperity. Bring peace. Bring peace inside of all of us in our minds. Sweet dreams. Going to sleep without fear. You know, I don't understand who wouldn't want that. You know, who would want to have millions of dollars in a big castle by themselves there instead of being with all the people in love and all the people having fun and all the people prospering in our lives and in their lives? I don't understand. Really, they have twisted mind, like Stuart often say. So I want to thank Stewart family, the Ganingahaga, to have kept this unbroken line, for us to be able to have heard all of this, to have had a glimpse of what it is to be in peace. Now we have to walk the walk. We have to not just talk about it, but do the work. And but I don't see that as work. I see that as living a peaceful life and being just in peace with all of us, within each other and amongst each other, and with a lot more to come. So, I'm gonna go out, everybody. Great peace to everybody. I am Roselle, the daughter of John Moss and midway daughter of John and Nick. To Jeanne. Um, I'm really thankful for everything that I lived there, and I'm thankful for all of you. It's a great honor to be with you. I'm I'm sure integrating everything for now, and I know that I have a lot of change to do in my own life. And as you know, I'm coming from a business world, so I know that there's a lot of corruption there, and it's kind of maybe a chance for me because it's easy to see it. um, I'm looking at the camps that I went to gather in both. Was a long ride for me, but it's kind of an honor to now see it at function. And the most important thing I think that I realized about the Great Law of Peace is that we all we all are responsible for managing the society, and we need to remind us every day and every moment. And I think every moment of my life, because that these every moment bring me bring brought me here to appreciate it and to learn this ancient knowledge I thank my mom because she raised me to be an open person, to always look and learn, because she was always a quick learner, and she wanted always to learn, and she raised me like that. And I want to also thank my father because every time I go to the woods with him, he's always have a lot of things to teach me about that. And it's our responsibility to make it work. Now we have no excuses that it wouldn't work. So now it's in our hand. So make it work. In 2017, there was the Recital, the actual Recital. And yeah, so it opened my eyes to a lot of things. I realized I realized I had a long life. I, I realized I had a long life. I had a long life. I realized I had a long life. But I can say that in 3 years, I'm able to live with 80 children.
yeah, it's like we, I have more to do with this, but I was able to do it in, I think, 2 years, 2 months. It, it was saying that there's, doesn't mean that it takes for everyone the same time to get there. So I think it depends on the game. And I'm so proud. And you, you know, I have on my also family in my childhood because he was a movie adult was shining, was shining. And it's funny because whenever I was listening to Spirit teaching, he was talking about coming out of the maze. And, and the first recital, when I see to the first recital, I had the image of seeing the scene where Jack goes and uh, so it's following its mention and he's going in place and he gets his lost his day right after he's born his wife and I always felt from 2 years ago that I was a forgive. I was at the door of the nurse and was honest. I could promise and it was cold and um, I had to take the decision of walking in or staying out, and I am Friday. I took the decision to start, and I feel all of other things also hindering me because those actions are the more I would say physical and physical life, but it's been amazing to learn out the mind. You have to go into band, go out, have to not have a break. In my mind, I would have some lots of things to do it, but I'm proud that I'm there. I did it. And all the emotion I have right now is that I see it work and that I can get them. And I can get them. I didn't say work, I don't like this, the word work, but I would say it's an effort. And I think we could get it done. Um, I think it's something very noble and we can get it. And it's full of life. And I like it. And thank you. I want to thank you all. Next.
Hello, I'm Jane. I'm the daughter of Emily and the granddaughter of Janine and the godmother of Janine. I'm very moved by this. Uh, we are together, we help each other. I just want to thank you for the nomination to have welcomed me like that. And of course, the long house. And all of you, it's always an evidence to be here, actually, because I didn't know I traveled to come from this, but of course I did. So, because once I the day before I took this flight, I said, I want to go to Canada, I want to see them directly. But I didn't know you were doing it. I realized that the day after. I was like, oh my God, it's such an occasion. It's amazing. It's amazing always also because, of course, I have already heard about the Grand Law of Peace, but I didn't know it was. I heard maybe in 2017. Yes, I regretted to meet you after you had done this, but maybe some way I had forgotten that you did that, and I was always curious to know more about the Great Law of Peace because I heard about it and I was like, what is that wonderful thing? And yes, it was the time, I guess, for me to hear it. And so thank you so much for doing what you do, um, keeping that ancient and beautiful and wonderful knowledge alive. Um, it's amazing how precious it is, how powerful, how right, I mean, juste en français, I would say. Um, um, but right is good also in English. I don't know the word would be good for Indian however, right? Because it's direct, it's clear, it's that, it's so it learns about politics, about how to be humans together in this world, but also on the individual way about psychology, a new term of this modern world, but how humans think and how help them to address think about life. So it's amazing how rich it is, and as you say, it's the law, it's that, it's the creation, it's an evidence. I mean, when you hear it, it's strong. It's not easy, of course. Like peace, it's not easy. It's not easy. I remember because we met a few years ago, and the first occasion we met, it was fighting against the pipeline and protesting and stuff. So I already heard a lot of your teachings or your the thoughts, the position. I remember you said that peace is not of course an easy thing. Like the rainbow movement killed the Native American spirituality and stuff, saying that peace is something we just do. It's easy. That's not easy, and it takes a lot of responsibility. It's also a word I received from that recital, how we can take our own responsibility within ourselves. And I'm so grateful also to this land that welcome us and everybody that comes to here. It's so beautiful the way you always welcome people here. I mean, just knowing this place exists, we comfort my heart and every human. I mean, I'll bring me a peace back every human again, something like that. So, yes, the way I can feel peace here, really, and it heals my body, and actually it heals my body to sleep here. What you say, France, about you can't imagine what it is when you have peace. You go to sleep without fears, and that's what I felt being here and sleeping here in my tent. So thank you for that, also for these days. Uh, yeah, as I said, that I didn't, I didn't know, but in a way, I guess I knew I would have received that, but being here, but yes, I feel more connected to myself and to everything is important in life. So I just want to thank everything. Grandma's moon that I hope to see tonight. And this ground, as I said, your own sisters, everybody that keep the truth. And yeah, don't want to say too much.
My name is Stone. I'm under the protection of Otis Brigade, the Bear clan, here at the Mount Cessna at Mizomon, at the Longhouse, in the territory of the Bunyaga, Vanuatu. This is going to be short. I am different than I was 14 days ago. I'm very lucky that uh, through hard work and the generosity that like the ones have shown with the leadership Recital with Gary has uh, enabled me to participate in this experience. It's always when we think that we have a bit of a job to do that it ends up us realizing that other people are working a lot harder than we are. So I'm so lucky that Elsa was one of the last speakers, and I am grateful for all the hard work that she and all the life givers did to put this together, because I even remember how essential her help was this winter in making sure that that first Zoom connection with Veronique could happen. And it did, because really Elsa facilitated Veronique knowing how to, and myself also, to run the Zoom. So it's always the, the the person that's the most in the background, uh, that is an apparent background, that has such an important role to play. And I don't think I played that role here. I tried to stay in the background, so I'm not going to contradict what I said just a minute ago. I think that the great experience that I've just lived here with you is to know a little bit in advance, and it just seems to be the path that I'm on, of how so many life protectors could potentially react or interact or learn from this experience, or perhaps from me, or um, maybe just uh, be invited to everybody's growing work to look at what is going to be communicated coming out of the recital. And I think it will change them. I think that it's also important for all of us to know, human beings, persons, that because the counseling process is the hardest thing to attain amongst all of us, because we're just living in a world that's in chaos, that's under great duress. Um, that the moment that we think we have doesn't always exist, or it disappears, and then there's no more time left. So I wanted to just to say, I'm sorry for speaking so quickly, that uh, should we be able to review and speak again, it's important to repeat things. It's important to for me to acknowledge the skills of the life givers in repeating things or in saying things, giving directions in certain ways that at first uh, reaction, a life protector is not going to understand that, especially a soul or an individual like uh, protector that's going to be encountering a whole bunch of like givers. Um, but with the teachings of the counseling process, the patience, the ability to listen and to observe, I think that many life givers, life protectors, could get closer to one another, and that not just in recital situations. So we have to find the right uh, target publics, the right timings, schedules by which we can share this information. It's always been my experience that as soon as you're out of ceremony, there's the biggest challenge for that ceremony to keep on being experienced. It's almost as if you're breathing all these moments and you're getting better breaths of life. And as soon as the event ends, that's where the lung or the organ clogs up, and you got to know how to work out the thing or back out of that situation like, immediately. And I want us to remember that because it's a difficult communication challenge that the life givers and the life protectors face with one another. So if we're not doing our ultimate very best, it's like that's what I think I'll try and remember. And I am remembering what I've learned before, but I maybe forgot it for a while. You try and give it your very best effort. And the next day, it might even be better than today. So if that's what other people can help you remember, well, give it a better effort, but it's pretty good effort today. Give it a better effort tomorrow. Uh, and lastly, because it's to the mothers that I'm addressing this message fundamentally, um, when you grow up as a life protector for your mother and for the other females of society, if that's the way you've been raised, that's the way my mother uh, tried to raise me. Um, there are situations in life I was talking about that with Unique last night, where it's always at the time when you're doing exactly the right thing, that everybody knows you do the right thing. That's where you're criticized. That's where someone's going to cut into you. But just like an accident happens and makes you look like you're doing or you were doing the wrong thing, but you knew you're doing the absolute right thing. Well, that's just the way that nature kind of makes life a little bit interesting sometimes and just wants to confirm that you're on the right path and you can stay on the right path and you're not going to get thrown off of that path by your own emotions or by anybody or anything. So I'm saying that to myself because I think that any person that's been raised to try and protect all of creation as a life protector, one of those other guys knows what I'm talking about. He knows that we trust and we've been raised to trust what the mothers do and teach us, but they're not perfect. Mothers are human beings, and we need to have a process by which the life protectors, I think we have it already, can just recognize, hey, if my mother was supposed to be perfect, what would be my learning process? I don't think there would be any learning process for me to gain as much knowledge from. So I'm trying to address this to the like protectors now to close. That that's what you know. You can't tie that knot the way that one hopes that you might tie it on the work crew or get the coffee as quickly as the guys want their hot coffee. But yeah, maybe I'm thinking about other things than just put the guys' needs up. And that's what I'm trying to say to the whole world here. There's other things that were being taught running through my mind, and that is ultimately really a really last word for me today. Is that memory? That's that focus. That that one particle that is going to go to the other end of the universe? Well, right now it's being formed in my mind. It's being formed in your ears. It's being crystallized for a split second. It's like it looks still. It's like memorized, and then it's on the other side of the universe. And it's at that moment I think that we can kind of just go with the flow and say, wow, what a what a particle or a rung of creation or a raptor that so to speak that I'm a part of. And, you don't even have to think about it further. Just in other words, you can overthink, you can over memorize, just let it go. So
Well, أنا قد واحد قد جوك بس ولا يصير يعني. So now everyone has had their voice. And when we look around us, we see people from different nations, from different backgrounds. There was people here throughout this time, people here from different places in the world. Uh, whether or not it was known that we were ended up here, whether or not you were drawn here or directed here, you ended up here. Whether or not the other people were specifically traveled around the world to come here specifically for this, regardless, we have all been in the same place and time together, and we have all shared our thoughts, our words. We've all shared our feelings, our love with each other. And when we hear or understand that what is being shared is the great law of peace, great law of peace. This is what is needed in the world. Not for peace to exist in between wars, but to have it as law, great law of peace. That every nation, every peoples, every country on earth must have a law identifying that they must have peace, and a law identifying precisely how they are to attain it. Every country must have this, every peoples must have this. This is what is, of course, lacking in the world. The rest of the world, the status quo is war. It must not be the status quo. It must be the exception. The status quo must be peace. And so, as you all know, how you have ended up here, that it is because of Pegani Diohade. That this is a mechanism of peace. You may not know it, you may not understand it, but this, which was created over 400 years ago, is the only avenue to peace. There is only one way, the way here. Everybody around the world has found their way here to Turtle Island for a reason. Because here in Turtle Island, this is where peace is law. It is not law anywhere else. And this is the mechanism that will bring you to law. This is the good work of our ancestors, of the Ganyaga Haga. As the foundation of the Five Nations Longhouse Confederacy, the great law of peace is held within our hands. It is our responsibility. It is not the responsibility of anyone else. It was our ancestors that established this, that were the foundation. And therefore, the responsibility falls on our shoulders. no one else's. And how we complete this task is through the good work of our ancestors, through the Degani Diohade. This is how we spread our mother's word. The great law of peace, everything that you have heard, from start to finish, the creation story, the in between times, the four sacred ceremonies, the formation of the league. Most importantly, the story of Jabusazet. This is the most important story, the story of Jabusazet, the story of the woman who stood on the warpath to wage love against peace. This is the only love against war, I mean. This is the only way that war will be defeated, by waging love. Now, this is the whole purpose was to convey the words of the great law of peace into your hearts and minds of the women gathered for the rising woman's nation. Everything that you have heard, this is Guyana Rasadat Goa. This is great law of peace. These are my mother's words. And we have fulfilled our task. Now, the only thing to do is to bring it to an end, to do the closing. It's time again. Yeah. Inside the one, inside the one, inside the inside the one hold, inside the one who's on hold. To close the day. If the I took to the gun who hits it there, and after that door. But the great log may always be open. It's going to go to go to six down, but to be within our mind. Then if we are in there, because there are things in our interaction, that we have to say, yes, I know we done the doctor, and I can start and to come around and see the stone. To give thanks for another earth. In the good for Toby, in the hope of the good known. And she is so dependable on her duty. A bird in the hotel is a bird and has our question. Everything she's put on the earth. But with the questions, I was in her door, I'm going to start soon. The third I soon. The fifth I soon. And in the ground, she's planted the gardens, the roots. And when they just go on this was I remember that. I mean, it will always be here. But the Canadian people too. You give thanks for all the following. You could be generous for what's in there. You get everything. The fire within the skies. But you know what you make it over, along with the insects. They go to yachts around. They spread the seeds. They go to cover some darkness. You're in the garden, you stand. And they also clean our mother's body on the earth. What they can all out together the whole and we're doing. We give thanks to the aquatic life. Then we know to say you got near there, and we still have water. Then I go down, step to wash it. I keep making them electricity to give to our plants. Then if we are accepting what I'll be success to the one so yeah. And I give thanks to the great strength, Mother Nature. Then if we already so what good was going on, so it's beginning. And for all of you sitting here, That took for a woman. It would not have happened. That as will get booked. It would not have run. It would have happened, but it would have been less of me. One of the other 10 years ago, did his training. And now again, I did the best of my ability. That promised to get me going. If I've forgotten anything, this is what I know. Everything's the one who go to books and the black ones are the rest of the room. Within your minds, it should be repaired. Now, go, merci, thank you, gracias. Now, okay, as you know, we never rest here. You know that we are always doing something. So you know that tonight is Wednesday. We have our weekly Zoom, no matter what that is being done. But also tonight, we also have the full moon on the mountain that we've been doing now since 2009. So we're going to incorporate this. Some people are going to end up staying here. At least Edith and myself are going to end up going to the mountain, and we're going to be doing the Zoom while we're driving off of her phone because she got a new package to do that. So this is what's going to happen tonight. As was identified to you, is that also we're going to carry out the ceremony. This will be tomorrow. Now, this will not be broadcast tomorrow. It's not going to be Facebook Live. It's not going to be recorded at all. This is going to be for who is here. We're going to be within our ceremony of the ceremonies that we weren't able to do because of this, of the corn mowing, the green corn, and possibly even the, I don't know, not the right corn. Anyways, you got the bean. So this is what's going to be carried out tomorrow. You know, we never rest here, so you're not going to rest either. Look forward to a life of work. Look forward to a life of burden, a life of doing what other people will never do. So, everybody, good luck in our new life together now. You are not just forming a women's nation so that you can have a club to get together to talk about stuff. You are forming a women's nation to take control over the corruptions that have been happening upon our Mother Earth, to correct it. This is what you are forming for. And so, you have a lot of work ahead of you. And I'll say to you, Nyawagoa, for starting down this path. Whether or not you maintain, Nyawagoa just for starting down this path, because it is a completion of a process of what has been taking place here now for the last 500 years. To get to this point of recital, you may think, well, it's just something that maybe you happened upon. In order to get here, a lot of people had to give their lives. A lot of lives is what it took for us to get to this stage of where we are at. Do not waste those lives. If you do, it will be your shame. It will not be ours. We have done what we are supposed to. We have reached out through the Dignity Ohade to the true representation in the non-native world of the women. So do not make it be in vain. Do not allow all those lives that were had to be given to get us here. Do not waste it. It is in your hands now. Oh. Done.
Water, yeah. Can't eat now.